Right now, one of the most successful, if not the only successful film or movie franchise is horror. Certainly, like Weapons and whatnot, won big time. And the ones that had draw were horror films. And there's a lot to be said for horror. It's always a good way for people to understand the craft of filmmaking and whatnot. A lot of groundwork can be done on that very cheaply in a lot of ways, depending on what your story is and what you're trying to pursue with it. But nevertheless, horror is always a bit of fast. I can't say it always was. I was more into science fiction and fantasy as a child. But as time went on, horror got my attention more and more, and now quite a bit. So one of the things was there was always these teases of classic horror. And of course, there's the classics of literature, Dracula and Frankenstein, but the classic horror that Universal introduced with those particular monsters. And could anyone take that on? And there's been attempts, and there's been hits and misses here and there. And recently there's been more attempts, and again, hits and misses. Probably the biggest disappointment for me was the recent Wolfman film. It had a couple of interesting approaches to it, but overall, it just fell flat. Well, now, and of course, they're going to revive the Brendan Fraser Mummy series. That's apparently in the works. But that's more of a sort of, was more akin to an Indiana Jones movie than a horror movie, which is fine for what it is. But now there's this new attempt for a mummy film that will be a horror movie. And it's a new and interesting take on it. It's not the standard of the Mummy story, certainly not the one utilized out of Universal, either the Boris Karloff one or the later iterations that the Hammer films did. This looks like it's leaning into horror and that sort of thing, but obviously, but also into a lot of horror reviews. I keep coming to the conclusion that a lot of the narratives and whatnot reach that sadness is the ultimate horror. So Lee Cronin's The Mummy trailer unearths a twisted new take on the classic monster. And already, that looks really creepy. The first trailer for Lee Cronin's The Mummy has dropped, and it promises a haunting reimagining of one of horror's oldest legends. Some things are meant to stay buried, teases the trailer. That's the chilling tagline for the upcoming film from Evil Dead Rise director Lee Cronin, who follows up his brutal box office hit with a reimagining of The Mummy that trades in action-adventure for pure psychological horror. What happened to Katie? So there's this missing girl story approach to this. So the official synopsis sets the stage. When the young daughter of a journalist vanishes in the desert, she's presumed gone forever. But 8 years later, she returns. Only something is horribly wrong. What should be a joyous reunion quickly spirals into a nightmare as the family confronts an unspeakable ancient evil now living among them. So, see the imagery that's displayed in it. I don't play trailers because I never know what the rules are. Seems stupid. A lot of people do it. Other people get in trouble for the same trailer, and other people don't. I don't know. But anyway, there you go. There's the stars. It's a Blumhouse gig. New Line Cinema, Atomic Monster. All that good stuff. And behind the scenes, Cronin reunites with key Evil Dead Rise collaborators, including cinematographer Dave Carbit, or Carbe, editor Brian Shaw. You know, it's his same crew. So there you have The Mummy, you know. So Lee Cronin's The Mummy is slated to hit theaters. Hit it? Well, don't do that. Just be in it. Oh, that's what you mean. In IMAX on April 17th, 1986, by Warner Brothers Pictures. And Warner Brothers has been, you know, kind of a leader in distribution of horror, you know. While past Mummy adaptations leaned into pulpy adventure and mythology, well, now that's primarily the Brendan Fraser attempt. I guess, like the Tom Cruise thing was trying to be a mixture of that. But other than that, that's it. The original Mummy movies weren't that. They're pulpy in the sense there's pulp magazines did cover the horror genre, so I guess you could. But adventure, not so much. Cronin's take appears steeped in atmosphere, dread, and psychological trauma, an approach likely to resonate with horror fans looking for something darker, more grounded, and far more terrifying. So yeah, I'm not going to watch the trailer. It's creepy, as you can tell by the imagery. But the synopsis seems to suggest it sounds like akin to Pet Sematary. You want a loved one back, but, they seemingly come back, but their soul is not there. Something else is dwelling in it. I think it's probably akin to something like that. But it's not an ancient mummy. The journalist is in the desert. I assume they're in Egypt somewhere. And the daughter gets lost. And perhaps some secret cult left over from the pagan years of Egypt mummifies this girl. And she becomes a vessel for some ancient dark spirit. It's my speculation, but it's probably something akin to that. So, what a horrific story. Just in that the little girl gets kidnapped and I assume murdered. Or perhaps she has an accident and the cult decides to do this. I don't know, but of course, you shouldn't be messing with forces you don't understand. So, it is a new take on it, and it's very different, but it doesn't line up with the usual story that messing with the graves of the mummies and stuff like that was like, this is a forbidden thing, it's something you shouldn't do. And the curse unleashes this horror upon you. Is usually the themes that would transpire, but this is at least a different roundabout way to get there. So somewhat intriguing. Could it just poop the bed, flop? Yes, it could. But it's a take on it, so I'll check it out. We'll see how Lee Cronin's Mummy unfolds or unwraps or something like that.